Welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. My name is James Williams Jr. I am part Cherokee, I am part black, and I am part white. So, this video is not going to be a fun video. Alright? I'm going to give you an update after this video. I don't know when it's going to happen. I won't be wearing these clothes, I'm sure, but I want to talk to you guys about Native American representation in cartoons for like the heroes from my generation. So basically from the 70s, 80s, and 90s cartoons, and how many actual Native American characters that I can remember. So I've been digging in, and I have only found maybe five. And I say maybe five because I don't know what Ren from Octopon counts as, because he's not on Earth. And we don't know if John Blackstar is Native American or not. And I don't know if David Chance from Macron 1 is Native American or not, because that was a Japanese animated show. Alright, now what I can tell you is that Charlie Ironknife, aka Spirit from G.I. Joe, is the only Native American on the G.I. Joe cartoon. Now his family was on there, but that was like a 2-part episode about the damn crystals. And then you have John Bravestar, who is a cowboy and a Native American. You have John Thunder, and there was a guy from Mask, but I can't remember his name, and he was Mexican, and Mexicans are Native American. And I'm still doing the research, because I'm still trying to find them, but for now, let's go with John Bravestar, Charlie Ironknife, John Thunder, possibly Black Star. And we're going to leave Ren from Pirates of Darkwater off, because we don't know what the hell he actually was. He's an Octoparian, so. And as far as John Blackstar, we don't know. But Blackstar and Spirit were like the first two, because it's like the oldest cartoons. Alright, so John Blackstar, who's an astronaut, you guys can Google him. I've been researching him. It does not say if he's Native American. So we're going to count him as a Native American until I find research and find otherwise, which I am currently on. So John Blackstar, astronaut, he looks Native American. He kind of looks like the same drawing that did Tarzan cartoon way back in the day, and the Flash Gordon cartoon. And I had the John Blackstar toy. He doesn't have arms anymore, but he still can spark his little thing on his back. So John Blackstar went to a planet, I can't remember. Please Google it so you guys can find out. And he met up with the tribe of people. But basically, it was a male version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was a really good cartoon. It only got one season. So we can go and talk about John Blackstar all day, but we don't know if John Blackstar was Native American. I'm still trying to find it out. When I find it out, I will let you guys know on an updated version of this. Now, Spirit, aka Charlie Ironknife, who had a pet bird named Freedom. Now, he was Native American. He was a Native American from out west. His family was like out there, and he wasn't one of my favorite G.I. Joes, because when I first discovered Spirit, I did not know that I was part Native American. So my favorite G.I. Joe was always Snake Eyes and Duke and Jinx and Falcon, when the movie came out. And then when they brought them back for like one of the last seasons, they really messed up Falcon, and they rarely ever saw Jinx. So that was kind of it. But Jinx was definitely my favorite of all. And yes, she's a female and she's a badass. And I still need to find a badass toy company so I can buy Jinx without the freaking hood. Because for some reason I cannot buy it directly from Marvel.com. Hasbro.com. Sorry about that. Anyway. So, Charlie Ironknife, he had a lot of bouts with Storm Shadow. Which is kind of funny, because in the comic book they didn't really have any issues, but in the cartoon they had issues, and I was like, okay, what the fuck did I miss? Now I don't know if they got issues or not, because I don't read G.I. Joe anymore, because it's IDW instead of Marvel, and it used to be Marvel. When it was Marvel, I was getting G.I. Joe all the time. I owe a lot of that to Miss Fomalot in like the 6th grade or the 7th grade at Buford, because she was always giving me the G.I. Joe and the X-Men comics, because those were the only ones I read. But we're going to stay off the comics for a minute, because I'm still doing research on Native American heroes and villains in the comics. Right? I kind of don't really want to touch that, because I was trying to get the Native Voices comic, and I couldn't find it. and the comic store doesn't have it. And they said there's another comic coming out sometime between August and September, but it's not native voices, so I'm gonna have to ponder around a bit. But anyway, moving on. So by the time you get to the mid '80s, early '90s, you only have two more characters that I can go through, which is John Blackstar. Excuse me, Brave Star, and John Thunder. So we're gonna touch on John Thunder first because he actually came out first. I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna swear to it, but I'm pretty sure that he was a Centurion, and this was like their second season. So they have 5 Centurions. This is the part that sucks, y'all. Not one of the damn Centurions was black. Not one. Jake Rockwell, white man. Ace McCloud, white man. Max Ray, white man. Rex Charger, white man. So I guess they threw us a bone because the only Native American they had was John Thunder. I overstepped, by the way. I will take a step back after this John Thunder thing. So John Thunder was a Native American. I do not remember the tribe. I'm still doing research, y'all, so please forgive me. But John Thunder was a Native American, and he was a Centurion. I believe his outfit was blue and orange or blue and red because Jake Rockwell was green and yellow. Max Ray was green and gray. Ace McCloud was blue and gray. Rex Charger was the only one with the actual green outfit. So, alright, I didn't get those toys. I don't know if Rex Charger and John Thunder even got Centurion toys. But I have Max Ray, Ace McCloud, and Jake Rockwell. So, yeah. Anyway. God, I'm old. Anyway, John Thunder came in, and I was like, well, damn, Jake Rockwell was always my favorite, but John Thunder, when the cartoon came, I was like, hey, I could be John Thunder. And plus, the name sounds cool. John Thunder. Yeah. It would be awesome to be a man named John Thunder. Well, the show went off, so I don't know how Centurions ended, but I do know they had one Native American and no black guys. In the whole freaking cartoon, I never saw a black guy. I'm going to have to rewatch it, because I don't remember seeing any black guys. So unless they're trying to say Jake Rockwell was black and passing as white, yeah, they had no black guys in Centurions. No, just like the Jeffersons and the Flintstones with no black people. Anyway, moving on. So before I go any further, before I go into Brave Star, let me take a half step back. In the mid 80s to early 80s to late 80s, Super Friends came on and challenged the Super Friends, and they only had one Native American guy, one black guy, one Japanese guy, and one Mexican. So technically they had 2 Native Americans because Mexicans aren't Native Americans. All right, so let's touch on the black guys first, because the Black Bolt, he had the lightning comes out of his ass, and he could shoot lightning out of his hands. So it was Black Bolt, not Black Lightning. Black Lightning was actually a DC character. Black Bolt belonged to Hanna-Barbera, just like Apache Chief. I think somewhere in the late 90s, when Hanna-Barbera was like going out, I think DC Comics bought the rights to Black Bolt and El Dorado and Apache Chief. I don't think they bought it to Samurai, because that was his name. Samurai. Don't ask. He wasn't Silver Samurai from the X-Men. He was just Samurai. You guys can Google the Super Friends and you'll see the show. And Samurai also, like Black Bolt, had like a tornado or something coming out of his ass, and he flew around and he shot tornadoes or whatever. I could never figure out what his powers were. And this is before Firestorm came along, and before Firestorm became black, because Firestorm used to be 2 white dudes. All right, and then somewhere he became a black dude and a white dude, and Legends of Tomorrow used that. Anyway, so Apache Chief, we'll get back to in a minute. El Dorado, so he was a Mexican dude. I don't remember his powers at all. I just know he's a Mexican dude named El Dorado or El Diablo or some shit like that. And he's a Mexican dude, so I forgot what his uniform looked like. I know he had a sombrero. So yeah, like I said, I'm still doing research, y'all. But El Diablo, Apache Chief, El Diablo were the only 2 Native Americans, and then you had Samurai and Black Bolt. And then later, once Challenge of the Super Friends started getting bigger, and this is pre-Justice League and pre-Teen Titans and God damn it, Justice League Unlimited. It's way before that even existed. And there was a Teen Titans cartoons in the 70s, just in case y'all didn't know. But anyway, It didn't last long. Anyway, so those four guys were at it because they needed minority support. So that's how that was. And so Apache Chief, who until this day, I'm sorry, that name still sounds racist as fuck. They could not give him a better name than Apache Chief. Eat up, Chuck, and he would grow. I was like, wow, man, they really didn't consult any Apaches before they did this shit. I'm sorry if I've offended anybody who's Apache. I'm honest. I'm honest. They clearly did not consult with any Apaches at all before they made Apache Chief. And then they couldn't even give him a fucking name to like actually have a superhero name. You know, Marvel took care of that part with the Marvel Native Americans, but for the DC Native American, the one Hanna-Barbera Native American, the first Native American for DC on TV, we can't give him a real name. We're just gonna call him his tribe in chief. So Apache Chief. And I'm like, I'm still pissed off to that to this day. If you're Apache, you can't be mad at me for being pissed off that they called him Apache Chief. Now, DC, if you want to give me a job, I'll play Apache Chief. Anyway, I'm not Apache though, but you know, I'll chuck the fuck out of shit. Anyway, and I need a job. I am an actor. So after that, you know, we skip ahead, and then we did John Thunder, and now we're gonna get on Bravestar, and he's gonna be the last one for tonight. Now, Bravestar is a Native American cowboy who's the Marshal of New Texas, which is a planet deep in space with 3 signs and the Prairie People. I want you guys to go watch Bravestar. It's a pretty good cartoon. Now, when Bravestar came out, by this time in my life, I have accepted my Native American heritage and everything else that was in. Wait, can I get a snack? I need to get a snack. Let me get a snack. Hostess. Very good. And Hostess, I need a job. You should sponsor me. So that I don't have to get a Patreon. I love Hostess. Especially the Twinkies. And these things, they're like a tie. It used to just be the Twinkies, but these things have a tie with them. Yeah, it's got the cream in the middle. Okay. Well, I know this is rude. So, Bravestar, Native American, his best friend is a horse named 3030. And 3030 was also a marshal and could talk and transform from a horse to like a man horse. He still looked like a horse, but he was a man. And he carried a gun that was a 30-30. You see the clusterfuck that's happening here, right? Besides the fact that I'm choking on goddamn Hostess cake. There was no Native American representation in cartoons until like the 80s. And the representation, with the exception of Spirit and Bravestar, wasn't all that great. Now the comics was a whole nother matter. And I'm going to touch on that before I end this video. I'm going to touch on that. Now, as far as DC, with the exception of Jonah Hex, I don't recall too many Native Americans in DC comics, but Jonah Hex was a cowboy and he dealt with Native Americans. Alright? There were more Native American stories in DC, but I'm more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan, which is why I'm going to touch only mostly on Marvel comics. So, Apache Chief was a thing. Just not in the comic books. But on TV, he was a thing. But in the comic books, Marvel had surpassed DC as far as I'm concerned with the Native American and Asian characters. And for those who do not know, or if you're not aware, Native Americans are actually biologically Asian. I shouldn't have to keep giving you guys this history lesson, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, because Native Americans crossed the land bridge out of Asia and Siberia and went 2 different directions. The Alaskan natives, the Inuit Eskimos, they stayed in Alaska, and every tribe pretty much splintered from them. All right, so I guess that's how you want to call it. But a lot of people are like, oh, well, first the regular natives came, and then the Inuit came 1,000 years after. I think they all came at the same time, and it just kept splintering off because some natives got to the land bridge and went the other way until they got to like Iceland and Siberia and all the other spots at the top where you get to Greenland and stuff like that, because some literally went to the North Pole. But that's irrelevant for this video. Now, the Native Americans in the Marvel comics actually have pretty decent fucking names. Scalp Hunter, he's a bad guy, but he's also a Native American. He literally has a name that suits him. Scalp Hunter. Alright? Then you have Thunderbird and Warpath. Both young men are Proud Stars. There's Jane Proudstar and John Proudstar. And then you have, what the fuck is her name? Her real name is Danielle Moonstar. And all of a sudden, I have forgotten her fucking code name. It's not Magic, because that's Pieta Rasputin's sister. The fuck is her damn name? And then you have Forge. Anyway, you guys can Google. Danielle Moonstar once was Valkyrie also, but her X-Men code name. For some reason, I cannot remember it to save my life. I still remember her powers, but I can't remember her damn code name. And then there's American Eagle. And then there's somebody Wingfoot who dated She-Hulk. So, you know, Marvel had their Native Americans pretty much given native names and things like that, where Apache Chief, on the other hand, was just like something Hanna-Barbera kind of slapped in. So we can't really blame DC for that, but we can blame Hanna-Barbera for not researching and not consulting with someone who's actually a fucking Apache before you just, hey, we gotta give this guy a name, you know. Well, he's an Apache, so let's just call him Apache Chief. Can you picture this boardroom meeting? Like, there's no Native Americans in there. I can honestly tell you, there couldn't have been a Native American person in there. Someone with one drop of Native American blood could have sat there at that table and said, hey, yo, dude, this is a bad idea. We cannot call this dude Apache fucking Chief. My next video will be dedicated to that. So thank you guys for watching. I will be researching other things, but the next video is going to be made right now. So thanks for watching. Come for having number 2. Be seeing